The webinar will begin in 1 minute. Welcome everyone. We are pleased that you have joined us for today's webinar titled Useful and Free Online Resources. The webinar will last approximately 20 minutes, and at the end you will be given an opportunity to receive supporting materials by email free of charge to you. You will also be told how you may email questions related to today's content to the presenter. Today's presenter will be Linus Sugis. Linus is the president of Advanced Underwriting Consultants. He and his team answer tax and technical questions posed by producers every day. Linus also spent 14 years working in the home office of a life insurance company in various roles. He also started, ran, and sold an estate planning law practice in the Nashville area. Linus will draw on his legal and life insurance experience during today's webinar, and here he is.
Thank you, Amber, and welcome everyone. We're glad you're here. We're going to talk today about useful and free online resources that are valuable for life insurance professionals as well as financial professionals. We know they're valuable because these are resources that we use here at Advanced Underwriting Consultants on a regular basis. And we've shared these links with a lot of our callers in the past as they've been answering questions of their clients. But before we get into those free and useful resources, let's decide on what it is that we're going to discuss next month. We've got a choice of 3 on September 7th that we would potentially discuss, and that is case study, business continuation, and Denver Broncos. The second choice is the taxpayer beats the IRS in a split dollar case. And the third choice is the cost of insurance conundrum. I am going to go ahead and open the poll, and I will give you a chance to vote on that. And if you would do that, the poll is available. Go ahead and vote on your choice for next month's topic now. Let's go ahead and give people a couple more seconds to vote. Most of you have. All right, we'll go ahead and close the poll. Next month's topic will be the cost of insurance conundrum. Thank you for voting, and that's what we'll talk about next month. We hold these webinars on the first Wednesday of every month at 11 o'clock Central Time. The recordings of the sessions are also available on our YouTube channel. If you know of others that would get some benefit from attending the webinars or listening to the recordings, feel welcome to share the information about them with them. We'd be glad to have others who are life insurance professionals or financial professionals join us. This is intended to be free and educational and to help increase everybody's knowledge level. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about the free and useful links. So before we get started, let me make one other point, and that is we're going to talk about a fair number of links today. We're going to give website addresses for most of them, and many of you may be tempted to write those website addresses down. Well, you don't really have to do that. We've got a solution for you there. If you click on the link, or if you copy this one link, you'll find the newsletter that has all of the hyperlinks for all of the websites in them. And I'll show you what I mean. If you click on that hyperlink, or if you type in the address for the hyperlink, it'll pull up the February 2022 Think About It newsletter. And if you take a look there, you'll see that the hyperlinks are live and they can be clicked on directly from that newsletter, which is online, so that you can get to the websites that we're talking about today in a flash. And we'll also include a link to this newsletter, which is, again, available online. This newsletter that has the live hyperlinks, we'll include it in the notes for the video when we post it on the YouTube channel, so that it's available to you. You can click on it right there and use it as kind of the gateway to a lot of these free resources. So let's go ahead and get started on the real links. Let's talk first of all about helping a client understand how much life insurance they need. If you're if you're interested in kind of using a very simple source for figuring out how much life insurance somebody might need, here it is. It's an interactive questionnaire on this website, nerdwallet.com, and you can estimate the amount of insurance that's needed, or you can use their calculator. That's one way to do it. Another kind of calculator is available at Bankrate. It looks a little bit different. It looks a little bit more sophisticated than the one at NerdWallet, but it is a straightforward thing. It is something a client can do on their own if they want to verify how much you're telling them they might need. And you can kind of play what if you want to, about how much life insurance somebody might need using the resource there at bankrate.com. And then another place, which is not life insurance related, not financial services related, but very useful nonetheless. The website dinkytown.net has a lot of calculators there, but it has one on how much life insurance you might need, and it's a pretty sophisticated calculator. Has a fair number of inputs, allows you to calculate and generate a report that can be used directly with the client. So I give you those for whatever they're worth, helping a client understand how much life insurance they might need. Those are important resources for them to have. So let's go ahead and move on. If you've got a client who wants to do some income tax modeling for 2022, wants to estimate how much income taxes they might have to pay in order to figure out what their capital gains rates might be, in order to figure out whether a Roth conversion makes sense or not, calculator.net has a rough 2022 income tax estimator where you can put in some information for the client based on their filing status and come up with an approximate federal income tax rate that might apply to them. A very useful tool to have in the right set of circumstances. For those clients who are at or near retirement age, Part B, Medicare Part B premiums are an important factor for them to kind of sort out. Those premiums are based on income, and it's based on income from the prior second year tax return. So the premium for 2022 is based on modified adjusted gross income from 2020. And so you can see the chart here. If you've got somebody in a relatively low situation, the amount that they'll pay in for Medicare Part B premiums about $170 a month. If they're really high income, it goes up to $578.30 a month. So it's a big difference depending on income. And so if you've got somebody who is straddling one of the thresholds for Medicare Part B premiums, it's important for them to know their numbers, have a pretty good idea about that. And so this chart comes in handy a lot. And it's important for us to know that it's not a graduated thing. While these steps are graduated, if you're over a particular threshold, the premium goes up a whole bunch, even if you're only $1 over. So it needs to be thought about as part of it. This resource is helpful in thinking through those types of situations. We also get asked a lot of questions about asset protection, and this particular chart that I'll show you in a second is our go-to chart for what the state law is with regard to asset protection issues. The point that we always try to make is that asset protection questions are really tricky. The actual kind of circumstance the client is trying to protect against really matters. The client's status with regard to the creditor, that matters. The nature of the creditor, if it's the IRS or an ex-spouse, for example, it's hard to rely on any asset protection rules in a particular state. If it's a creditor that the client knows about, hard to rely on the rules in a particular state. But the general asset protection rules are state by state, and this guide is a handy resource to have. You can see, for example, the second row is Alabama, and Alabama says life insurance proceeds are protected from the claims of creditors under Alabama Code Section 6-10-8, and there you go. You can provide chapter and verse to the client's lawyer about what the asset protection characteristics are. As long as you give them the proper cautions, they need to talk things over with a lawyer and talk things over with a lawyer specifically about the kinds of creditors that the client is worried about. But this chart we use over and over again at Advanced Underwriting Consultants. For retirement planning, the IRS had a press release almost a year ago talking about the changes that were made for 2022, talks about some of the deferral limits for 401k plans, the amounts that could be contributed into a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA, and some of the phase out ranges for traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs. So this page is very helpful to get that information at a glance. We get asked a lot of questions about the types of rollovers that are allowed between qualified plans. The IRS has a rollover chart that I believe is very, very helpful. Here's what it looks like. I know it's a little bit hard to read. Let's zoom in a little bit. So one of the questions that we get asked quite a bit is it possible to roll over a Roth IRA into a designated Roth account? If you look at the chart, that's the first row, the farthest column to the right. The answer to that is no. Roth IRAs may not be rolled over to designated Roth accounts. However, if you go to the corresponding designated Roth account at the bottom row in the far left, can you roll over a designated Roth account to a Roth IRA? The answer is yes. People often get confused about that kind of thing. And so the chart provides that information at a glance. Chart reminds us that transfers into and out of simple IRAs are generally restricted during the participant's first 2 years of participation in the program. The chart reminds us that rollovers into governmental 457B plans are technically allowed, although roll-ins have to be accounted for separately, and the chart reminds us about that. So the chart is something that we use over and over again, very helpful for clients to understand what kind of rollovers are permitted and what kind of rollovers are not. And if you're looking to explain how a backdoor Roth IRA works, the NerdWallet website here provides a reasonable article that's kind of written for clients about how those kinds of things work, how they're set up. Talks about the reasons for somebody wanting to potentially do a backdoor Roth IRA, and reminds people about the pro rata rule that would stand in the way of it being an efficient strategy for a lot of our for a lot of our clients. And so I think that article is helpful. We've shared it some and think that you might be able to use it as well. If you've got a client whose RMD age wants to anticipate how much their minimum distribution might be from their IRA or qualified account in a particular year, there is a handy online calculator from investor.gov. It's simple. It basically requires you to input the prior year-end account balance and your age this year, and uses the most current charts and pulls the factors from the Uniform Life Expectancy table, the most recent one, to come up with the RMD for a particular year. Chart's handy. Is certainly something that you can use or let your client use so that they can do some modeling of how much their RMDs might be. For those who want more general financial calculators, the folks at Dinkytown have done a really good job of providing all of those in one place. You can see on your screen from the web page that they've got calculators in a lot of different categories: investments, loans, mortgages, business calculators, personal finance. They're just a wide variety of calculators that will be helpful for a lot of clients. And from my perspective, I go back to this website over and over again to pull those calculators for things like present value and future value that are helpful in helping them, to model certain kinds of behaviors and help to answer questions about financial results that producers might ask. So dinkytown.net, very helpful there. We get a lot of questions about charitable trust giving. A lot of folks ask us to run calculations about charitable remainder trusts. I think a lot of those folks are surprised to learn that we use the resources at Crescendo Interactive. It's a free calculator online that can help you do charitable remainder annuity trust calculations, charitable remainder unit trust calculations. The unit trust calculator is, I think, fairly straightforward. It allows you to choose the date of the gift. It automatically pulls up the 120% of applicable federal midterm rate for the current month. Asks you to put in the age of the donor, the amount that's going into the trust, and the trust percentage payout. You choose the duration or the frequency of the payout under the unit trust model, and it tells you how much the charitable tax deduction will be. It also tells you that if you've allowed the client to keep too much income based on the factors, it'll tell you if your plan will fail the charitable remainder trust test, that the IRS will consider that you haven't done a valid charitable remainder trust because you preserved too much income for the client. And so we use this calculator all the time and are glad to share the link with all of you. All right. So what are the takeaways from today's session? From my perspective, there are a lot of tools online that are useful for us, for life insurance professionals, for financial professionals, and they're free. The list that I've gone through is not comprehensive, but there are many of the ones that we return to over and over again, and hope that that maybe one or two of them were a surprise for you, and that you'll use them going forward, and that they'll be useful to you. And that's not to tell you that subscription services are no good. We certainly subscribe to some ourselves, such as Virtual Sales Assistant and Lineberg Information Services. Those are services that we pay for monthly. We're glad to. The information there is very useful. And from our perspective, the stuff that's there fills in the gaps of the free stuff that's available. And we use those resources as well as the free ones to help serve our clients. At this point, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. We'll look forward to visiting with you again next month. And at this point, I'll turn the program back over to Amber to close us out. Amber?
Thank you for joining us today. As a reminder, if you would like to receive supporting materials, feel welcome to email us at asktheexpert@advancedunderwriting.com. You may also email questions related to today's webinar. Feel welcome to join us for the next webinar on the first Wednesday of next month, September 7th, at this same time. Next month's webinar will be titled The Cost of Insurance Conundrum. You can also find an archive of past webinars on our YouTube channel, Advanced Underwriting Consultants. Please subscribe to our channel. It helps us to keep making free webinar content. Today's presentation will be posted on our YouTube channel by the end of this week. Finally, for more information about the services that Advanced Underwriting Consultants offer, including phone consultation and newsletter licensing, feel welcome to contact us at 615-224-1291. That's 615-224-1291. Thanks again and best wishes for continued success.